This video is tied to my previous video called Spear of Targon. I highly recommend watching it, or even better, reading the Pantheon's lore yourselves before you resume this video. Hello everyone and welcome! Last time we talked about Atreus and his story of becoming the Pantheon. Today we are going to have a look at another Targonian champion, Leona. We have talked about Rakor before, the warrior tribe forged in the dangers of the foothills of Mount Targon. But as deadly as the foothills are, it is nothing compared to all the dangers on the mountain itself. The higher on Targon you are, the more likely you are to witness the glittering mist it contains. When this mysterious glittering mist descends from the top, it brings all kinds of beasts and inhuman beings with it. These radiant creatures kill at random and whisper unspeakable secrets to drive mortals mad. The Rakor are trained to fight these creatures. Rakor means Tribe of the Last Sun. Its people believe that many worlds have existed before this one, each of which has been destroyed in a great catastrophe. They believe that when the sun is destroyed, there will be no more. That's why the Rakoran warriors fight without mercy or hesitation. They fight for the sun and the existence of this world. Leona was also a Rakoran warrior. She learned to fight as soon as she could walk, mastering sword and shield with ease. She was always fascinated by the mysterious mists, and she often wondered what might lie beyond them. However, that fascination did not stop her from fighting the ferocious beasts, inhuman entities, and eyeless strangers that came down the mountain. She had killed many of them as she had been taught to, but one day, young Leona encountered a golden-skinned boy with horns and bat-like wings wandering the mountain. He did not speak her language, but it was clear that he was lost and frightened. Even though everything Leona had been taught told her to attack, she couldn't bring herself to murder someone so obviously helpless. Instead, she led the boy to a pathway leading to the summit, watching as he walked into a ray of sunlight and vanished. When she returned to the Rakor, she found herself accused of failing in her duty to the sun. Atreus saw what she had done, and he told his father. Leona did not dispute the accusation, and the laws of Rakor allowed only one sentence for such a transgression: trial by combat. In order for this trial to bring true justice, she had to face an equal opponent. There was only one warrior whose determination would match Leona's warrior skills: Atreus. The time had come and they picked their weapons. Leona picked up her sword and shield, Atreus his long spear. No one gathered around the pit could predict the battle's outcome. Leona and Atreus fought beneath the blazing sun, and though both of them bled from dozens of wounds, neither of them could land the final blow. Soon the duel was interrupted by one of the Solari elders. The Solari bring faith to other tribes of Mount Targon. Because of their strong connection to the sun, the Rakor usually let them decide who can live and who dies. And fortunately for Leona, this wasn't her time yet. The elder had a vision. He saw a warrior wielding the celestial powers of the sun itself. She was a daughter of Targon who would bring unity to the celestial realm. The elder believed Leona was the hero from his vision. The Rakor was outraged. The Solari wanted to stop the duel and take Leona so that she would become one of them. But even the merciless warriors of Rakor respected the Solari elders, and so Leona was free. The Solari Temple was on the eastern slopes of Mount Targon. Here, Leona learned the ways of the sacred order. She learned how they worship the sun as the source of all life and reject all other forms of light as false. Similar to the Rakor, the Solari also fight for the existence of the world. And so, their religion is strict with no exceptions. Leona trained every day with the warrior order of the Solari, the Rahorak, a Rakor title which means followers of the horizon. In time, Leona rose to command this elite force. Her path forever changed when she was called to escort a young member of the Solari to the heart of the temple. The girl's hair were the purest white, and a shimmering rune glowed upon her forehead. Her name was Diana. Leona knew her because Diana was known troublemaker around the Solari temples. She's been missing for months, but now she returned. She was wearing a pale armor that glowed with silver light. She said that she returned to bring great news that would shake the Solari to its foundation. But she said that she would only reveal it to the elders of the temple. And so, Leona escorted her to them. Diana spoke of the Lunari, an ancient faith that worshipped the moon. She told the elders that everything they believe in is only half true. The other half of the truth lies within the Lunari. She described a realm beyond the mountain top, a place where the sun and the moon were not enemies. With each word Diana said, Leona's anger rose. When the elders finally rejected her words, Leona knew it would be her who would end Diana's life. But before she could even react, Diana, full of hatred, charged at the elders. A blinding light exploded from Diana's hands, and orbs of silver fire burned the elders to dust in a blink of an eye. She then used the same silver fire to blast Leona from the chamber. When Leona regained consciousness, Diana was gone and the Solari were without their leaders. Leona knew there was only one path open before her. She had to hunt down and destroy the heretic Diana for the murder of the Solari elders. Tracking down Diana wasn't hard. Leona was able to see a trail of silver light left behind her. It was leading her even higher into the mountain. As she climbed up the mountain, she was getting into places she didn't recognize, as if that path never existed until this moment. The sun and moon passed the sky in a blur, as if many days and nights passed with her every breath. She neither stopped to eat nor drink, letting her fury sustain her beyond what should have been humanly possible. Eventually, she reached the top. But instead of finding Diana, there was the same golden-skinned boy she spared so many years ago. Behind him, the sky burned with blazing light, and in the middle, a majestic city of gold and silver. The boy spoke to her in the old Rakor language. He told her that he had been waiting for her to follow him since that day, and that he hoped she wasn't too late. He held out his hand and he offered to show her miracles and insight into the minds of gods. Without regret, Leona took the boy's hand as he smiled and led her into the light. A pillar of celestial power smashed down from the heavens, filling Leona with terrifying powers and forgotten knowledge from the earliest times of this world. Her weapon and armor burned to ash in the cosmic fire, and then they were reborn in golden image. Her shield and sword got replaced by the legendary Shield of Daybreak and the Zenus Blade. When Leona returned to the Solari Temple, she still had her own memories and she controlled her own body. But she felt that a great being had chosen her to be its mortal vessel. It gifted her with incredible powers and awful knowledge that haunted her eyes. Knowledge she could only ever share with one person. Now, more than ever, Leona knew she had to find Diana. Right after these events, the barbaric raiders that terrorized the villages around returned. This time they were aiming for one of the smaller settlements in the Solari region. Their leader was a warrior in a heavy scale armor and a dragon helm. He was carrying a giant greatsword over his shoulder. The leader ordered everyone to halt as he saw a lone figure standing in the middle of the settlement street. He grinned as he saw it was a woman. Suddenly, warriors armed with shields and spears emerged from the street, taking their place to either side of Leona. "These lands are under my protection," she said. Then Leona lifted her sword and the warriors slammed their shields together, creating an impenetrable golden wall. Then she slammed her own shield in the middle of the formation and started calling upon her powers. The dragon helm laughed as his men moved away from him. He needed space to fight with such a colossal weapon. Then he shouted something in their language, and the barbarians charged forward. Leona and the Rahorak stood unmoved, even as the raiders started hitting the shield wall. Leona continued to channel her powers. Suddenly, the dragon helm leapt forward, hitting Leona's shield like a stone titan's fist. The hit was so mighty, it drove Leona back a full yard. The Rahorak stepped back with her, keeping the shield wall unbroken. "Brace the trust!" Leona yelled, and the Rahorak warriors drove their spears into the barbarians before buckling their shields back together. The dragon helm slammed his blade down again. This time he split one of the shield warriors next to Leona in half. Leona didn't give him the chance for a third strike. She pointed the Zenus blade toward him and released a searing echo of its image. The dragon helm immediately started burning. His armor and flesh started melting together as he shrieked in hideous pain. The screaming was so horrifying that the rest of the raid started fleeing. But the Rahorak didn't give them the chance. "Into them!" shouted Leona as her warriors started moving like a machine harvesting their bodies. But even after that, some of the raiders escaped. Leona knew that they would only regroup to kill again, and she could not allow that. She thrusted her sword into the earth and started channeling all of her powers into the sky. The sun emerged in its full glory behind Mount Targon. Leona then slammed her fist into the ground, and sunfire rained from the sky. And that's where Leona's story ends. If you are curious about what actually happened to Diana, you'll have to wait for the next video. Thank you all so much for staying here until the end of this video. If you liked it, feel free to do so, and if you have anything else on your heart, don't be shy and tell me in the comments. I really appreciate all of your feedback. So as always, thank you come again. Alright, there are still 3 more parts of the story as far as I know. There is Diana, and then, as I said last time, there is probably going to be Tariq, and then there is probably going to be Aurelian Sol. Riot actually released this little teaser on, I believe, what should be the new ARAM. There is a new announcer, and that announcer is either the god that is above Mount Targon, or it is actually Aurelian Sol, which, now that I think about it, I think it would be weird to have the announcer a champion that will later on become a champion in the game. So yeah, there is an actual event coming, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it, because the last one was during the Bilgewater, and that was a while ago. And with that, see ya!